We are going to kick this off. Tonight's guest speaker is Aubree Monroe Watson. And of all of her accolades, of all of the things, we just love having good people on. And I feel like I know Aubree just from following her on social media and following her journey. A lot of you guys know a little bit about her. You probably saw her with Team USA, the Florida Gators. She has done Athletes Unlimited, and she works with Church on the Dirt. So she's very active in our softball community, and she's very excited to share her story with you guys, her faith, and she's just so authentic. And I know that we're going to have an amazing conversation tonight. So with that, there's your intro, Aubree. Take it away, girl.
Well, thank you. Well, I was born in California, so I lived there until I went off to college. I fell in love with softball because my mom was a pitcher. My older sister played. I was a very, very nervous little girl. Like, I didn't want to try anything new. My mom would sign me up for things and I would cry. I was not having any of it. And then I played softball. I started t-ball and all that because I was familiar with the field. I was always there for my older sister. So I was familiar with the field. I was like, okay, I'll try softball. And through that, I was kind of over t-ball pretty quick, which I don't know why, because I wasn't that good yet. But I was like, I want to hit up the real pitchers. And so I moved up to 8U at 6 years old, and I was spending most of my time in the outfield and had to be reminded constantly to pay attention. Was very young, and one night the girl was supposed to be catching started crying. She was like, I don't want to catch Jenna, who was like the best pitcher in our age division, who was on our team. And my mom was my coach, and I was the only one that she could like force back there, because I was her kid. And so she put me back to, she's like, what do you think about catching, Aubree? You get to wear the gear. And I was like, that sounds kind of cool. And I started catching that night. First ball hit me right in the stomach. Didn't have any idea. And everyone comes running out. I'm like, this little nugget of a person, the gear covered my whole body. And they're like, are you okay? I'm like, I didn't feel a thing. That was so cool. And I just started to fall in love with catching that year. And I really fell in love with the game through the lens of being a catcher. And I just loved being so involved in every play. I loved having like a hand on the pulse of the game. And it was really just so fun. And so I fell in love with the game through softball. I fell through catching specifically. And then I went through high school. I ended up going to the University of Florida. And that's where my faith journey like really, really took root. I would have said I was a Christian my whole life, but it wasn't personal in terms of me like pursuing God or pursuing what he had for me. I mean, I was a good kid. I made good choices. So before I didn't really feel like I had a need for God. There wasn't anything in my life that was like just screaming like, you need help. But I was like, I'm kind of doing all right. I make good choices. And I got to my freshman year of college and I struggled like really, really hard because my performance just wasn't up to what I had wanted it to be. And so I was not meeting the expectations I had set for myself as a player at UF. And so if you don't know, defense, catching specifically is my jam. That is what I love about the game. Hitting has always been like this for me, my whole career, like good days and then really bad days and then really good days and average days. And just always having to work really, really hard offensively. But I could put on my gear, get behind the plate, and I was comfortable. And my first weekend in a Florida Gators uniform, I had more pass balls in that one weekend than I think I had the whole 3 years before that. I was dropping easy pop-ups. I was just so rattled and like, I can't even do what I do well right now. The other stuff is hard enough on a regular basis. And so I just had this moment my freshman year of college. I'd been starting to go to a Bible study and starting to just kind of open my Bible a little bit more. And I finally had this moment of like, just surrender. Like, God, I can't do this on my own anymore. I'm trying everything and none of it's working. So God, just take over my life. It's yours. And that was probably the first time I felt like I could take a deep breath all year. And so I wish I could say that I started like hitting home runs. It was just like balling out after that. It's not really the case, but I was able to leave a bad day at the field, and I hadn't been able to do that before. I'd have a bad practice and I'd take it home wondering, am I good enough? I don't belong here. I made a big mistake going across the country. I'm not good enough. And just all these really, really bad negative thoughts. And then it would turn into a bad week of practice. And all of a sudden, a month has gone by and I'm like, I don't even like, what am I doing? Why am I here? And after I had that moment of just surrender, I was able to like look around and see like, no, I've got a lot of other value here. Like, all right, I might not be in the starting lineup. I might not be playing the best that I know I can play, but I can be a great teammate. I can get the pitchers ready for when they're going out there. And when I get my opportunities, I'm going to just play softball because that's what I love. And so I just was on a journey from then on with my faith. And I made I made the national team my senior year of college and played 6 years with the national team. My last season was with them in Tokyo for the Olympics where we got silver. And then I actually tried out in January and did not make the team. So that was really hard. No, it's never fun to not make a team. And I just felt like God was kind of calling through that. I was wrestling with if I was going to play another summer. And through that, I feel like God just kind of opened up some other doors. And I was like, all right, I think I'm going to retire. And I just felt a lot of peace. And so now I'm the student director of my church. So now you're all caught up.
Hearing your story and just so many nuggets that you could pull out from that. Girls, you could be writing notes. I'm sure you guys are thinking of questions. I will lead with a question because I think this answer is just going to be, I just know it's going to be an amazing answer. And I would love to hear. One of the things that we teach our girls all the time is identity. And I know you touched a little bit on this. It's like you spend so much time in this sport and you have reached the highest of highest levels. How would you describe your identity and how have you wrestled with that throughout your career? And how have you come to rest knowing, and like, without a doubt, this is my identity? Can you talk about
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. That was my biggest struggle with that freshman year. I felt really lost, really broken, like I didn't belong. And I had to really kind of figure out, okay, because I thought before college, I thought I had balance. I was like, I'm more than a softball player. Like when I'm in softball, I am all in. I am locked in at practice. And then when I leave the field, like I'm not really thinking about it too much, like it's what I love. So it gets into kind of every bit of my life. But we were very much like, if it's not softball season, we're going to get manicures. We're doing fun stuff. We're going to the beach. Like that's kind of how my family operated. So I thought I really knew balance. And then I got to college and it felt like my whole world revolved around playing for the Florida Gators. Like, and I had allowed that. Like I had put so much emphasis on, I'm going to go to Florida. I'm going to make an impact right away. I'm going to do all these things. And then like I'm waking up for 6 a.m. workouts and then I go to class and then I go to practice. And so it's just like was very overwhelming. And I didn't have really anything else in my life besides this all encompassing Florida Gator thing. And so I think I really struggled with that. My family had also moved that fall. So like I'd go back home for winter break and my mom's like, this is our new house, which was hard. But I think overall I had to come to terms with like, okay, who am I really? You thought you had balance, but you obviously don't because this is taking over your life. Bad day at the field should not mean that Aubree has no value. A bad game should not mean that my worth stops because I didn't throw a ball well today. And so those were the things I really had to wrestle with. And that was when I started opening my Bible for probably some of the first time in my life, like really opening it to read for myself. And I started really latching on to verses that talked about what God said about me because I didn't know really what God said about me before. Like I knew, Jesus loves me, this I know, but other than that, like I didn't know that I was fearfully and wonderfully made. I didn't know that he called me daughter. I didn't know like that he knew the hairs on my head, things that are in the Bible. I didn't know that he knew me that well. And so I just kind of had this season where I was just really latching on to those types of verses and those types of stories where I just watched Jesus interact with these women of the Bible and like just give them an identity because of who he was, not because of who they were or what they walked through. And so it's been a journey. I think I thought I had tackled it. Like, all right, I got this identity thing done. I'm good. Like, I am a daughter of the king. I am we're good. I never have to deal with this again. And then a couple years ago, I was playing with Team USA, and it was like creeping in again. That feeling of like, I'm not performing, or I'm not doing what I need to do, or this softball thing is taking over my life. And I don't even mean that softball, like, because softball is super great. So many good things in my life have happened because of softball. But the second I allow it to get above my relationship with God, and that means if I'm not making sure that I'm reading my Bible, if I'm not making sure I'm listening to certain music sometimes, like just like kind of preparing my mind in certain seasons of life, like everyone's going to be kind of different, but there are certain seasons where I'm like, okay, I really need to like kind of tighten up and lock this in, or I'm not going to be okay. And so just learning some of that, and to now be really confident in, no, I know what God says about me. I know that no matter if I go 4 for 4, 0 for 4, have no errors, or send the ball into center field every time I throw down, like, that I still have something to offer and I still have a purpose because of what God says about me. And it took me a long time to get there, but to feel really confident in that is really freeing.
So the girls know what I just did, but we all do whoop whoop. So like that seriously
Oh,
gives you
cool.
a whoop whoop. We try to make Zoom interactive since they're all muted, but um yeah, I mean it's all the things that we as coaches tell you guys all the time. But does it carry a little bit more weight when somebody like Aubree tells it to you? And you're like, oh yeah, okay, that carries a little bit more weight. Yeah, I'm seeing some smirks. I see it, y'all. What what do you guys want to know? What questions? You guys can unmute, you can raise your hand, you can type it in the chat. Any question? What do you guys want to know about Aubree's life, career, softball, advice? They're firing up the chat, I can tell.
Oh, there we go. Ooh, my favorite count to hit in. Um, I wish I would say OO, but I never was aggressive. Oh, that's my challenge to you guys. Be aggressive on your first pitch. No, I always liked a 2-1 count. I felt like I'd seen some pitches, but still had count leverage. And usually, hopefully, the strike was a swing, so I'd gotten a swing off at that point. So I came off my shoulder. I always felt a lot better when that happened. What pushed you to be the best? That's a good one. I really think that I just love the game. And so my love for the game went beyond just what I did. I love seeing the game played well. So I love seeing a great double play, or I love seeing a teammate like succeed in doing something that I know she's been working really hard at. And so I think my love for the game is what carried me through the really hard times, because you guys probably know at this point that there are some hard times in softball. It's a game of failure. And so being able to constantly go back to like, this is what I love, you know, and being confident in that pushed me through the hard times. And honestly, my mom was awesome. I mean, she still is. But she's just been this really great balance of constructive criticism when I need it. Like, she never let me get too big, but always my biggest fan, and always like our thing. You guys, maybe are you familiar with the car ride home? Maybe some of you, maybe not yet. Okay. Where it's like, oh, I just played terrible, or it's a long day, and now we're going to talk about it. And sometimes it's the last thing we want to talk about. And I was always like, so mom, like, tell me what I did good today. And she loved it. She was like, oh yeah, you made that great play, or, oh, your framing was great. And then she'd say, but if we're going to talk about all the good things, then we got to talk about the other things too. So what happened on that bunt? And so it kind of, the way we did it just sort of created this rhythm in our conversations where I knew that if she's going to compliment me, it meant something, because I knew she was also going to be honest with me. And so I think that really helps me. She was always just really honest with like, hey, you have this goal. I'm going to do whatever I can to help you get there. But like, I'm going to make sure you're doing your part, Aubree, so I wasn't allowed to slack off. I will say that. We were pretty serious about it. But yeah, I had said I had big goals from a young age. And so she's like, okay, let's do it. But I'm going to hold you accountable. So that was good. Um, how do you deal with pressure, especially in the Olympics and Athletes Unlimited? Um, I'll be honest with you guys, the pressure part doesn't bother me very much. I always get a little nervous, like kind of like that butterfly feeling, and I know it's good. I think some nerves are good, and it's enough to like keep you alert. That's how I feel. If it's making me anxious, I don't want to feel that way, but if it's going to be that little bit of extra edge to keep me alert, I love that. Um I just, again, it goes back to loving the game. I always felt like I was at my best and enjoying it the most when the game's energy was at its peak. So I'll give you an example. In 2018, when we were qualifying for the Olympics, we were at World Championships in Japan, and we're playing Japan. It's always us in Japan, like first and second for years. And we're playing them in the semifinal game. So we haven't qualified yet. And I think we went 8 innings with them. And it's just like this back and forth all throughout the game. And then we end up winning. So the next day, we go into the day, like if they beat Canada with us in Japan in the championship game, we're already qualified, but we still want to win gold. And so ends up being us in Japan. We know we've qualified. So some of that pressure came off, but we went 10 innings with Japan. We were down, I think we were down 2 runs, which in international ball, you do international tiebreaker where you start an inning with a runner on second. So we're starting 3 innings after the game is like, after we get to 7 with somebody on second base. And Japan is an incredible team. We're like, okay, they go up 2 runs, and that's almost like the kiss of death in ITB. You're like, because your runner on second is almost useless because you need another one to tie it. And we end up kind of just going back and forth this whole game. And then I come up in the 10th inning with runners on first and second, I think, or second and third. And I hit a ground rule double to tie the game. And it was like one of the coolest things in my whole life. But when I was up to bat, I have this really cool group, my Church on the Dirt crew on my team. And we'll be praying for each other throughout the game. And it's not like some big, like, hey guys, let's get together to pray. Usually it's like, hey, will you pray for me? I'm feeling a little emotional. I'm having a hard time getting my emotions to chill out. And they're like, okay, got you, or hey, one time Janie Reed, she kind of grabbed me by the shoulder and she's like, hey, what can I be praying for you for? And I was like, a calm heart and clear eyes. And that was just something that like came out of me, which is not normal. And that's what I felt in the box. And I knew I trusted that her and Michelle and Allie were in the dugout, just like, again, not making a big deal about it, but just I knew they had my back. I knew they were covering me. And so then we had done a Bible study during this World Championship about Hebrews 4:16. And it says, let us draw near to the throne of grace so that we can receive help. I wish I had it better. It's Hebrews 4:16, though, if anybody wants to look it up. But it's a great verse. And we had just been talking about it. And let us confidently draw near to the throne of grace. And I was praying that over myself in my bat, which is not common. Like, I don't do that very often. But I was just like praying this over myself. Like, Lord, give me confidence. Let me draw near to you. Like, give me the grace to, like, if I succeed, to give me the glory. And if I fail, to like do it gracefully, and I'm praying this out loud, which is so weird. And this Japanese pitcher is probably looking at me like, what is she doing? What is she saying? And then I ended up getting the ground rule double and just being able to feel. So my point is, I just enjoy those moments. Like, instead of letting the pressure overtake me, I find myself smiling. I find myself looking around at the field like, look at what we get to do. And I think I get that from my grandpa. He used to be like that. He coached my mom and my aunts. And they'd be in a tight game and he's running over to the third base box like, isn't this great? And I think that's kind of where I get it from. But I think you have to learn to enjoy those moments, because the more relaxed we are, the better we'll play. And I mean, not to be cliche, because I'm super competitive and I want to win all the time, but like, it's a game. When it stops being fun, no one wants to play anymore. And that's something my dad has told me for most of my life is like when it stops being fun, no one wants to play anymore. And I never wanted to get to the point where the game wasn't fun anymore. So finding a way to be enjoying and having fun in the competition. So that doesn't mean we have to be like giggly, like, oh, we're having fun. There's a time and a place for that. But like you can have fun while competing really hard. And I think that's where I found my sweet spot. Let's see. How do you let things go in tough situations like errors? I think as a catcher, are any of you guys catchers on here? Anybody? Hand? Thumbs up?
They may not be on screen, but we do have a
Oh,
few.
okay.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So for me as a catcher, like I don't really have the luxury to stay thinking about whatever error I just made. I have because pitchers and catchers, like it's so next pitch mentality. So I've had to just really work on maintaining that. Like next pitch, next pitch. Like my team's not getting my best if I'm thinking about what just happened. And that goes for good things too. Even if I just hit a home run, my team's not getting my best if I'm still thinking about how far I hit that ball. They get my best when I'm being present. And so I think just always trying to put the team above myself and that's what's helped me get over stuff. Cause then I start getting lost in the game again. I'm just being present. I'm just being present. And it helps me let go of that other stuff. I'll probably think about it later, but I want to get back to doing what I can right now. Let's see. I retired in February, so I will not be playing in AU or anything. I'm done, and now I work at my church and get to hang out with my dog and my husband. Let's see. Oh, you were at Church on the Dirt in Texas. Who was that? Jan? Is it Jan or Jean?
Jeannie, are you back? Riley is at practice, I think, but Riley might be back.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a nice comment. I'm just reading them as I go. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. This is kind of about being introverted. Yeah, and being a leader and stuff like that. I think some of the best ways to be a leader is by just by living it. So sometimes that's and you guys aren't driving yourselves or anything, but just like this mentality of like, being first there, last to leave, like as a general thought process, so that just means that might not be literal, but like, okay, I'm not going to get my water until the balls are picked up, or I'm not going to be the first one out of here. I'm going to see if coach needs help taking buckets to her car, stuff like that. Makes it pretty tangible. And I think people start to recognize who's invested in the group, who's consistent in showing up. I think consistency is a huge part of being a leader because it's hard to follow somebody who's up one day, down another, up one day, down another. And so I think it's being consistent is huge. That doesn't mean that you can't have a bad day, but trying to maintain some level of consistency as best you can. And that comes with like learning to manage your emotions, which can be hard sometimes. Like if you're in a slump and you're just upset. And again, something that I've just been taught is like being a good teammate is the foundation for how I play the game. So for me, I'm constantly like my, I guess you could call it a coping mechanism, is that like, I'm going to put the team first. It's not about me right now. It's not about me right now. Like I can go and cry in the car on the way home, but for right now, it's not about me. And I think for the most part, it served me pretty well. In terms of one, keeping my emotions in check, staying present, but also like making other people feel valued and seen. And when people feel cared for, they're more likely to follow. They're more likely to respond to your leadership. And you don't have to be loud in your face to be a good leader at all. I've known all types of leaders. One of my favorite leaders is like one of the quietest people I know. But when she does speak up, it counts. And so, and I mean, as a catcher, I'm kind of a chatty leader, I'm like always talking, but, but for the most part, it's just about being consistent and really caring about people. Because if I've shown that I care about you, if I have to say something to hold you accountable, like, hey, we don't do that here, or hey, I know you're better than that, or hey, are you okay? Because you don't usually act like this. Instead of getting a really defensive response, I'll probably get someone to be like, oh, okay. Like, I know Aubree cares about me, so maybe I should hear what she has to say. So again, it kind of goes back to I'm a people over process most of the time type of person. Processes are important, but definitely, I think you get more out of people when they know you care. So let's see. Yeah, we put the verse in there. That's perfect.
I didn't know if that was, there's lots of different versions. That one was cool that it had the word confidence in it.
I love that verse. I've leaned on that verse many a times after that Bible study. Um, Here's one. Have you ever been too busy and think you need to quit and have negative thoughts that made you want to quit? Yes, I did. There was a time, I think I was still in high school, where someone had asked like what drove me to be my best. So I had been like, I want to be the number one catcher. I want to do this. I was like, eat, sleep, breathe softball for quite a few years. And then I was kind of just like, okay, yeah, like, yeah, I still want to do these things. And I remember my mom asked me one night when I was in high school, she goes, I mean, so don't you want to be the best? You know, because I'd been saying that for years. And I was like, I mean, I want to be out there. And my mom's like, what? And then I was starting to have a lot of negative thoughts when I got to, so that was like a weird season of just like, I don't know, like, yeah, I like this, it's cool, but like the drive was definitely lower. And then my freshman year of college, I was doubting everything. I didn't think I belonged. I thought I made a big mistake, that I was not good enough to play at Florida, that I just didn't belong. And had I listened to that voice, I would have missed out on everything. Because when I came back for my sophomore year of college, I worked every day with my dad that summer. I hit every day in the backyard because ultimately my offense had kept me out of the lineup. And I was like, I'm never letting that happen again. So I did my part. I put my work in because I think that's important. But I came back my sophomore year of college and was just different. I'm like, okay, I isolated myself. I can't do that. I need to make friends. I need to get more involved because the year before was horrible. I didn't enjoy it. Like there were parts that I enjoyed. I loved being a part of that team. It was a really special team. But like from a personal standpoint, I was like, this cannot happen again because I can't live another year like that. And came back my sophomore year. My sophomore year, we ended up winning the World Series. I met my husband that year. And had I not come back that year, I never would have like had the career that I had at Florida, and I never would have made Team USA. So if I would have listened to that negative voice that was saying, you're not good enough, you don't belong here, yeah, you're in way over your head, because that's how I felt, I would have missed out on just about everything I know about my life today. And just all the things that God has done in my life since then. He's used that low point in my life for me to help other people. I now, when I'm in a hard season, I'm like, I know God can use this. This is hard. I have no idea what this is for. I don't like it, but I know God can use it because I've seen him do it before. And that's all coming from one of the lowest years of my life, feeling very lost, very broken, very misunderstood. And so many things in my life now point right back to that year and deciding to be like, nope, I think I'm supposed to be here. I don't know why, but I think I'm supposed to. So there's so much to be gained from really hard moments. If we're willing to just kind of like remain, which is hard. If we're willing to just kind of like stand, like, okay, I don't really know how to move forward right now. I don't really know what my next move is, but I'm not going to shrink back. I'm not going to just quit. And there's times when, maybe you are being taken in another direction. That's great. But I think a lot of people, especially young people, are getting out before they give themselves a chance to like really learn and really grow and really like just the things that God wants to teach us in those seasons are so valuable. And we're not giving that space because we're uncomfortable, we're scared. we don't know how to like navigate through it. And sometimes it's not about learning how to navigate through it. Sometimes it's just about saying, nope, I'm going to see this through. And then maybe I'll make a decision later. So kind of a lot, but
Chills. Oh my gosh, so good. Just like the part about like life beyond the softball field. Like you are where you are now because you met your husband. You met, you played on Team USA, all the things. We do want to be respectful of your time, so you let us know how many more questions you want to get to. If any other questions come through the chat, I know we skipped one. Paige had a question, and then we'll kind of wrap this up soon. So if you guys have a question that didn't get answered, we can always circle back, and I can make sure those get answered in the DMs or somehow. But Paige asks, were you afraid of disappointing your parents or your coaches?
Oh, that's a great question. I was definitely afraid of disappointing my coaches. I didn't struggle with that too much with my parents. My parents got divorced when I was 4. So it was mostly just my mom for a while. Um, and she, like I said, she was just a really great balance of everything. So I knew she loved me, like kind of regardless of all of that. So I didn't struggle too much with my mom. But I really struggled with coaches. Just putting these part of that is part of why I struggled my freshman year is I was like, I'm playing for Tim Walton. I'm like, he's the guy, I got to figure this out. And like, I have to live up to these expectations and, just like learning how to care, but not care, like to care respectfully. I was given an opportunity or he believes in me, but at the same time, like I can't let that become my identity. I can't let that become my only source of validation. That's what was so freeing, I think, when I surrendered that to God is just being like, okay, God, like my validation cannot be found in what Coach Walton thinks of me, can't be in what my parents think of me, it can't be in what fans think of me, it can't be in any of these other things. Like I just need to know that I belong because you have me here and just trust at that, which is very hard, but it's worth it. And then I can definitely do 1 or 2 more questions.
Yeah. Jada had a good question. I think that's where it kind of skips down to.
Mhm.
What was your lack of performance on the field the biggest inspiration to rebuild the relationship between you and God?
Um, it was definitely like the thing that forced me to go, you know? I felt like God was really stirring up in me before I went to college. I didn't really know what it all looked like yet. But just like kind of my recruiting process, how I ended up going to Florida and just like all the doors that I was probably a senior in high school and just starting to reflect a little bit and thinking, okay, I think something's going on here. I think something is making all this come into play. And so I would have recognized it as God, but I wasn't like sold out on that at the time. It was like, okay, I think something's going on. Too many things have happened too perfectly for this to just be random. And so I was going into college kind of with this mindset, in this mindset of like, okay, I need to get involved in a Bible study. I need to figure out because I don't want to be lost. And I ended up kind of getting lost anyway, which I'm just like, all right, God, that was part of your plan. You just needed to kind of bring me to my knees a little bit. And that's okay. Sometimes it's good. And but my performance was the thing that probably broke me down the most, and it just really revealed that it was becoming an idol in my life and something that I was putting way too much validation into for my identity, and, so softball and my lack of performance was definitely, like, the thing that drove me, because I just wanted to feel okay. I just wanted to feel, like, good. 'Cause I wasn't, and so, I mean, that sounds kinda sad, but was real. I was just like, "I don't like, nothing makes sense right now, and I don't understand why I'm here and why this is so hard. It wasn't supposed to be this way." Um, and so but again, like I said, when I finally surrendered, it was like I could take a deep breath for the first time all year. Like, this thing on my chest had just been lifted, and I was like, "Whoa." Okay, all right, like, let's see what you have, God.
Like,
And then, let's see, thinking about going back to softball and coach, I don't know. It's not off the table. It's not, but I'm really, I'm really loving what life looks like these days. So I'm the student director at my church. I started volunteering with our youth group 2 years ago, maybe. Just like whenever I was in town, because I was traveling a lot for Team USA. Whenever I was in town, like, hey, I'm around, and I would help. And I did the high school girl small group, and I have sisters that are in high school and a brother that's in high school. And so I've got this like link to the next generation, and just seeing that you guys are growing up so differently than the way I did, and how much that's like affecting you guys, and, good, bad, and different. It's a different world. And so much of my testimony was that I just didn't know what God said about me. And so being able to impact people's lives, um, mostly young girls, and so just to try to get them to see, like, look, I just want you to know what God says about you. Because when we know what God says about us, then we can start to trust him. Like when I start to believe what he says about me, then I'm going to start seeing transformation in my life. And so I think I'm definitely not, I love being able to like kind of bounce back in. I've done a couple events with like some camp events and things like that. And I like doing that stuff. I'm never going to be out of the game, like for real. But I really like what life looks like and being involved in my local church. And um, what is just cool because I never knew what I would do after softball. I knew I could do stuff. Like I knew I had other things to offer, especially after going through my little identity crisis. I was like, I'm more than someone who can throw a ball. So I knew I had things to offer, but I didn't know what that looked like. Like, does that look like a job in marketing or, at a restaurant? I don't know. And I just felt like God was really kind in showing me what life could look like after softball when I was working for my church. I don't know how long I'm going to work for my church. I don't know if this is a lifetime thing or just a season, but I was able to just kind of see what my life could look like, and it wasn't so scary anymore. And I think that was what was cool, is that life after softball doesn't have to be scary when we've given so much to it. So kind of right now, I'm enjoying being home. I've been married for 3 years and I've been gone for half of it. So my poor husband. And so I just get to be home with him and my dog and work with teenagers. So it's been really fun. I enjoy it a lot.
Very cool. I think we just have one more question in the chat. Brooksy says, I'm going into high school season. How can I prepare for it mentally and physically? Any
Oh,
quick
great
tips?
question. Um, Two thoughts. Okay. Because I don't know where you guys really are or what the high school softball climate is where you are. So for me in Southern California, travel ball was like the serious stuff where you got recruited. In high school. It would just kind of depended. So my high school wasn't really good at softball. So I played shortstop in high school. That should tell you something. And I loved it. It was really fun. But like I am not a very skilled shortstop. So I when I entered into high school, I was like, okay, I'm gonna work on my leadership because this is a great environment for me to like work on the type of leader I want to be, and leading people that maybe don't have the same drive as I do. Like I think only there were only 3 girls that were trying to pursue softball after high school. And so just a very different environment than my travel ball team, where we were like, oh, we want to go play at all these, big schools. And so just different mindsets. And so when I was in high school ball, specifically for my school, it was okay, I'm going to get as many at bats as I can get. I want to be as confident as I can be. And I'm going to work on being the best leader I can be. And I'm going to enjoy it. Like I'm going to try and keep a little bit of a lighter heart here. Because like if we hold on too tightly in a situation like that, it just drives you crazy. So if that's your situation, like find the thing that you can focus on to just get better. Like don't let the time go wasted just because you're like, oh, my high school team isn't any good. There's still so much to be gained in the interpersonal aspect of that stuff. And I think it is cool to feel like you're the best on your team. Like there's a real confidence that can come from that can carry over into maybe your summer ball or your club ball stuff where maybe the talent level is upped to where you're all kind of at the same level. But to being able to take that confidence from, no, playing like I'm the best because I am the best, and bringing that to where you are in a confident, not cocky way. So that's one scenario. The other scenario would just be kind of, again, if that's where you're going to get recruited from, or if that's what you're looking for, one, you have to understand the speed of the game is going to change a little bit, because now you're not just playing with kids your age. When you're in 12U, you're playing with 11, 12, like maybe 13, maybe, just you're in a very specific range. When you get to high school ball, you're playing with 18-year-olds if you're not already. So just, again, I don't know fully where you guys are at, but like if you're a freshman and now you're just now playing with 18-year-olds, girls that are probably more developed, probably stronger, more mature. There's also the social environment aspect of it, of like preparing yourself for, if you're on the bus at an away game, like what kind of conversations are happening? Are you prepared mentally for those kind of things? Because conversations that freshmen are having might be very different than the conversations that seniors are having, and being able to handle that with maturity. And so I think that's the biggest difference, is that and then it's the same when you go to college. It's like, okay, I graduated as an 18-year-old and I was the top, and now I'm playing with people that are 22. So just having a little bit of an understanding of developmentally, like you have time to get to where you want to be. So that's one thing. And again, high school season's short usually, like shorter than what we think our travel schedules are. So pick something. Okay, I'm going to focus on this. And it could be interpersonal, like a leadership thing. If you're a catcher or a pitcher, it could be, working better as a battery. It could be super specific to, okay, I'm going to get better at hitting the curveball. We've got all these girls in our league that throw great curveballs. I'm going to get better at hitting that. If it's a game by game goal, I just think high school ball is a great opportunity to like set some more specific goals, because you have a little bit more, I guess you could just say you have more opportunity to figure it out as you go, kind of on your own, like with guidance. But, when it's travel ball, and this was my experience anyway, when it's travel ball, it's so about like just where the group is going. And in high school ball, I always had the opportunity to kind of like figure things out a little bit more on my own and kind of take a little more ownership. So I hope that is helpful.
Those are awesome answers. Okay, so Aubree, to explain this to you, each of these girls have gone through different coaching programs in the past 2 years. So a lot of them know what this is, but every time we end a coaching call, we do a fun screenshot. And so you get to choose. So I apologize. What's like the symbol for like Florida Gators? Like what's the
Oh, you can do baby gators or you can do a bank shot.
Yeah.
Either way. Baby
Right,
gators
yeah.
are for hit.
You get to choose whatever screenshot you want. I will take the screenshot. And then girls, I posted this in the chat. If you guys want to join us for the screenshot, now is the time to come back on camera. And then, should we do baby gators?
Yeah, do some baby gators.
All right. Okay, this is tradition. Y'all are part of the fearless tradition. All right, here it comes. McKenna and Keelan, use your chance. Get those baby gators. Okay, here it comes. Boom, got it.
Cute.
You guys light up the chat, unmute, tell Aubree thank you. Aubree, we are so thankful for your time. We really appreciate it. I would love to send you a thank you and connect. We can connect on Instagram after this too. So just, thank you.
You guys are so welcome. Thank you guys for being flexible too. Sorry about that.
Awesome. Very cool.
Oh, you guys are so fun. Have a great night, you guys.
Happy 4th of July weekend. If you guys are playing this weekend, good luck too. Bye, guys.
Bye.